What is going on, everybody? I am your host, Dylan Denmark. That is Graham Marsh. Boots on the ground, live reporting at, where are you at, Buffalo?
Buffalo, New York, baby.
Yeah, Buffalo, New York for the Jaguar game tonight. We weren't able to get a reaction show yesterday, so we'll get to one right now. Graham, I thought it was it was a simple game plan that Billy Napier did with the two quarterbacks. Still didn't understand why Lagway played much with Mertz had it rolling. But, I mean, the two quarterback system was damn near perfect. Mertz only had two incompletions, and Lagway was perfect, I think, 7 for 7. Offense had it rolling, and the defense is still the defense. But, Grant, that was a much-needed win, a nice bounce back for Billy Napier heading into this UCF game.
Yeah, it was. I'm coming to you live from the car because we're in the Airbnb, and I don't want to wake the rest of the crew up.
Don't let the school bus hit you.
But yeah, but I gotta get his takes in. So, quick thing before we get really into the details and everything of the show and I tweeted about this the other day. And look, to Gator Nation, to Gator fans, does this mean anything long term? Probably not. Does this mean Florida's all of a sudden a good football team? No. Does this mean Billy is going to survive his job? Probably not. But the Florida Gators won a football game in pretty convincing fashion on a Sunday or on a Saturday. You deserve to enjoy that. Just celebrate. Just be happy you won the game. That's all you got to do. Like, it doesn't have to mean you see from other opposing families. Well, Mississippi State's terrible. And, certain Gator fans that like look, Mississippi State sucks. So like this doesn't even matter. Like, no, it doesn't. But enjoy a win. It's football season. Like, especially right now with the way this program is, you don't get a lot of Saturdays where you get to watch your football team win. Be happy, enjoy it. It's okay. So the Gators won. They looked more prepared than they had in the last couple of weeks. They just looked a little bit. A lot of that, of course, has to do with who they're playing, but I just felt like, didn't it feel like the playbook was a little more opened up? It felt like it was a little more creative. It felt like they had a little more, just a little more plays that I don't feel like I see all the time.
Yes.
They played, my favorite part of the game that they did is they played a significant amount of the younger freshmen and younger players on the team, because like Mizell's not a freshman, but I guess he's a redshirt freshman. But anyways, these younger guys, these younger recruits that we've heard about and how special they are, we actually got to see a lot of them play significant snaps yesterday in an SEC game. That was really encouraging because I really hope that continues moving forward. I mean, Aiden Mizell, man, oh my gosh.
Dude,
I mean,
we haven't seen something like that in years.
You got to keep him. He needs to be on the field a lot. Like, especially, we still don't really know how long Eugene Wilson's going to be out, and we don't really know what's going on there. But, you have Chimere Dike, who's obviously going to start, and you have Badger, who's obviously going to start. Other than that, man, Mizell needs to be on the field, dude. And if you can ever get Eugene back and you get the two of those, all of a sudden that's an explosive wide receiver room all of a sudden that you can feel pretty good about. I'm sure you probably saw my tweet about this yesterday, Dylan, that maybe we can get into as our first topic here. With due respect to Montreal Johnson, these other backs deserve more carries. I'm sorry, they do. And look, that doesn't mean I'm calling for Montreal Johnson to be benched and never touch the ball and be fourth on the depth chart. That's not what I mean. He can even still be running back one. But these other guys need to be in the game more. Like, Montreal Johnson doesn't need, in bigger games when they play bigger opponents, he doesn't need to be getting 50+% of the carries. Like, I need a healthier dose of Webb and Baugh and Jackson, because those boys ran the ball really well. They run with violence. They fall forward. They get upfield. They find the hole. Like, I want to see those guys play more.
Yeah, I was thinking for Florida to beat UCF, what would be the best backfield? Graham Mertz at quarterback and Treylon Webb at running back. That was my first initial thought after that game. And And I still don't understand why the run game just is so much more smoother when Trayon Webb is in the game as compared to Montrell Johnson. And then when Ball came into the fourth quarter, I think that was a little bit of him having fresh legs and nobody else really on the field having fresh legs. People don't really understand that. Like when you haven't played the entire game and everybody's played about 3/4 and you've probably played about 50 some odd snaps by that time, that means something. But I do agree
Yeah.
with you that you do have to rotate your backs. And Graham, I mean, looking at this Mississippi State game looking at the UCF game compared to what they did against Mississippi State, this is going to be a game, but it's going to be whoever scores 55 first is going to win this game because the defense is going to give up a lot. And Graham Mertz, if he can play like he did against Mississippi State, they're going to be scoring near that 45, 50-point range.
Yeah. Let's get into that a bit with the defensive side of the ball. What do they do throughout the week, dude? What does Ron Roberts and Austin Armstrong and this defense do Monday through Friday? This is embarrassing. It is disgusting. Like, they won the game, which is great. The offense was lights out, efficient, great game plan, and that's great. Defense had a couple of stops that were ultimately the difference in the game. Really, honestly, the play that sealed the game, in my opinion, was that 4th and goal read option that Mississippi State ran where they turned it over. That was a dumb play call for Mississippi State, in my opinion. I don't know why. I felt like that 4th down, if they had just kept going downhill, they were going to score on that play. I don't know why they tried to get cute and run the option. But when Florida made that stop, that was ultimately the game because the Gators went right back down the field and scored, and you kind of knew that was going to happen, and you could sense the air coming out of the Mississippi State sideline after that. So, like, good stop, like that was a good bend don't break stop, like great play. But overall, I mean, dude, Mississippi State is the worst team, maybe the worst team in the entire Power Four, and they ran for 200 plus yards on you. I mean, what are we doing? Jason Marshall had a good game. Like, some of the DBs played well, so like I guess that's a positive. I like the linebackers, even though like the run game overall was bad. Like I like Shamar, I like Puff Howard. It's really that defensive line just getting gashed, dude. Just play after play after play. I mean, what is the answer to that? What are they supposed to do? Are they just screwed the rest of the season?
Yeah, it seems like it. I mean, when you've seen it for, and I'm not going to count the Stanford game, when you've seen it for 3 games in a row, like Miami, okay, good team. Texas A&M, okay. I mean, it's not, that's not supposed to happen. And then it happens again at Mississippi State. Like, that's not something that's going to change. And I don't know if it's just guys getting manhandled up front, if guys aren't holding their assignment, but it's like, I don't know, man. Like, if you play defense, there's at some point where, as a man, you get tired of getting beat over and over and over again. And there comes a point where you say, to hell with it. Whatever I'm going to do, I'm going to do something to where I'm not going to get beat this play. And I'm just speaking up front. I'm not talking about the DBs getting beat at like on a deep ball or something. And yet it doesn't change. It hasn't changed, and it's not going to.
I think the main issue, I heard Cole Kublik talk about this last week about just general college football, which I thought was really interesting. Arguably the position that has suffered the worst because of the portal in terms of keeping your depth strong is defensive line. Because a lot of these Power 4 programs like Florida that have traditionally had a really strong starting unit defensive lineman and had that really nice second wave to come in and give them a blow, those guys are now on different teams because they can be starters somewhere else. And that's Florida didn't have a great D-line to begin with. They had a couple of transfers. Like, they had Princely Umanmielen go over to Ole Miss, who was your best edge rusher. And you had Jamari Lyons get hurt at the beginning of the season. And one of the guys you're relying on is over 400 pounds. So it's like, I mean, dude, like, it's kind of an obvious recipe for a disaster that every game, these guys are going to, after the first or second drive, these guys are going to be winded, man. I mean, Cam Jackson and Desmond Watson are playing entirely too many plays to try to hold up. And they just don't have anybody else to go to. And that's a problem. I mean, especially when they start playing the really good teams, when they start playing the Tennessees and then Georgia and then I mean, they may as well not even go to Knoxville. They just don't make the trip. The Texas don't make the trip. But against these other teams that they have some type of shot to win, like the UCF game, like we're talking about, these games are going to be NCAA games, bro. The first team to turn it over is going to lose.
Well, and something I just thought about. Yet you've had a couple of injuries on defense, but you haven't had a major injury yet on defense. You haven't had Shamar James get hurt, or you haven't had Jason Marshall get hurt. If one of those guys gets hurt, and you're about to get into the thick of your schedule, like, we think this defense is bad now. Wait till you lose one of the best players in your position group. Hopefully it doesn't happen, but I mean, it's football. So you're going to have injuries at some point, especially with the schedule that you have.
Well, even if it's not one of your stars on the back end, because your better players are on the back end of that defense, secondary or backers, even if it's just more people on the defensive line. I mean, I don't think it looked like it was anything serious, but Kelby Collins got up slow after a play late in that game against Mississippi State. Like, Kelby Collins isn't, the best player on the team, but, like, that's a guy, that's a body you need. You need a lot to play. What if Caleb Banks goes down, or, Sapp, or who, like, dude, I mean, they just don't have enough bodies on the defensive line. They just don't have enough guys that can rotate in all the time. I mean, we should have seen the writing on the wall when the Miami depth chart came out and Desmond Watson was listed as a starter. I mean, the day we saw that, we should have known that this was over. But okay, that's problematic. We know that moving forward. But Dylan, if I had to guess, we're gonna have more podcasts to be negative. Can we talk some more positives real quick?
Well, Graham Mertz, offense,
and Lagway.
Yeah.
Like, I agree with you that the way he was playing, I think Mertz just should have played basically the whole game, and then maybe you put Lagway in for like some run the ball type packages. I don't like at all how he's doing this quarterback system. I think it's really, really dumb. And it worked out against A&M against Mississippi State, because they are terrible. And the quarterbacks just played well because they were going to play well. It wasn't like having Lagway in every third series unlocked something. You know what I mean? If they had played a good defense, it'd have been problems. But that said, I tweeted this yesterday too, Dylan. I don't know if you saw my tweet about it. I was kind of thinking about it during the game, and I was thinking about how efficient Mertz looked and how well he looked and how crisp he was with his receivers and looking on time, and just really, really strong performance, obviously. And then I thought about how well Lagway played when he went in, and he was doing good things. Considering the state of this program right now, it's a miracle what they have in the quarterback room. For a team this bad to have this much success in the QB room, have this much talent in one guy, in an up-and-coming 5-star Gatorade Player of the Year last year, that is showing, and he's inexperienced and making some freshman mistakes, but also very much showing signs of, like, this is why he was that type of recruit. And then Mertz to be the really efficient veteran that he is, like, I feel like most teams that are struggling this much and have this bad of a team overall don't have that level of quarterback play. So that's at least a positive to take out of it, in my opinion.
No, definitely. Yeah, this team would not. I mean, if you had just throw a team, obviously not Mississippi State, who just lost their quarterback for the year, by the way. If you could just think about just some of the quarterback play that you see in the SEC. I mean, look at what Oklahoma's quarterback did Saturday against Tennessee. That was pretty bad. I mean, if you had below average quarterback play on this team, yeah, I mean, we think this team is bad now. We probably wouldn't have won that game against Mississippi State. Yeah, that is a good point. And also another point too, we forgot to mention that in the running back room was is Jackson when he got his carries. He got his carries late in the game. You're like, dude, this guy can play too. I mean, so you look, you got four decent dudes that you can at least rely on in a conference game. The backfield is obviously fine. It's just the offensive line that just, when these big games, when you're going to play these defensive lines that have a decent rotation of 7, 8, 9 guys, that's going to be the main question. I mean, I hate the drive-by-drive Graham Mertz Lagway. I fully agree that it should be a package for DJ Lagway. Quarterbacks are all about rhythm, and it's something that everybody always says. It's all about rhythm and having your confidence. And you can't get a rhythm and have confidence if you just go drive-by-drive and then give the drive to somebody else. Because I said before the game that Mertz was going to play 2/3. I'm like, okay, I have no idea what that means. I've never heard 2/3 of the game. Okay, what Billy Napier meant was Mertz is going to get 2 drives and Lagway is going to get a drive. So then Lagway comes in and they get like second play. Montrell Johnson fumbles, and you're like, oh my God, here we go. Like this is going to be one of those games where it's just going to be ugly the entire game. And it didn't turn out to be that way. But if you want your best chance to win against UCF, you have to play Graham Mertz for a vast majority of the time. And I'm sure Billy Napier is not going to change what he's done in the last 2 games. And he'll probably do what he did against Mississippi State, because if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah, and what they should do in the UCF game, what a smarter coach would do, in my opinion, you play Mertz. You say, Mertz is my starter. Mertz is my drive-in, drive-out guy. I might have a couple special packages for DJ Lagway. And that's what we're going to do unless things go south. And then if Mertz goes out there and they're struggling and they're having problems, okay, now I go to the freshman. But there is a thing called an in-game feel that Billy Napier does not have. It does not exist. And that's why he does these specific regimented, pre-planned before the game, this is what we're doing. Because I don't believe he has that in-game feel and has that ability to on the fly during the game figure out what is best to help my team win today. I think his approach is he's got to figure that out early in the week, because he's not going to be able to figure it out accordingly during the game. That's going to be a huge problem moving forward. It was fine, like you said, against Mississippi State, because I think those quarterbacks were going to play well regardless against that defense. I don't know if it had mattered what they would have done. That defense, oh my God. I mean, dude, Mississippi State I think they're the worst. They're probably the worst team in the Power 4.
Yeah, they're definitely probably the worst team in the SEC. I mean, look at Vandy almost went to Missouri and beat them. That was kind of shocking. I mean, you look at the Power 4.
Vandy beat Virginia Tech week 1.
Yeah.
And I don't know if Virginia Tech's any good, but they beat a team with a pulse week 1. I think for Mississippi State, the reason they're so bad is a lot of stuff that's outside of their control. I feel bad for that program in a lot of ways. I mean, with Mike Leach dying, like that's really, really tough. Like they got behind the 8 ball in a lot of ways. Florida was thrown an absolute blessing getting to play them as their first true road game, and after how tough the first 3 weeks of the season were. So look, there's 2 things that are going to happen beyond this point. Either A, Mississippi State was terrible, and this means nothing because Florida's played an awful team, and they looked good because they played an awful team. And they basically just played Samford again. And now they're going to play more teams with pulses, and it's going to be really bad. We're going to be having the same conversations we had after the A&M game and the Miami game about it's just a matter of if not when for Billy, and it's going to be terrible. Or this or is a small percentage, but it's above 0. Or they use this game to build a little swag, and they get a little confidence, and also they start playing a little better. And some of these young freshmen get more time, and they're showing off their talent. Maybe Mizell is out there and he's making plays, and Jaden Baugh is making plays, and Jacoby Jackson is making plays, and Treon Webb gets more carries, and he's doing stuff, and maybe that's what happens. I don't know. I don't think that's what's going to happen, because once they play Tennessee and those types of teams, I don't know that it's going to matter because they're probably just simply not good enough. But Maybe it means they're more competitive in those games. Maybe it looks like they can at least look like they belong on the same field. There's a world where they can capture this momentum and use it for their benefit. I'm not saying they're going to go rip off 8 wins and Billy's going to keep his job. I'm not saying all that, but maybe they can use this to play a little better and just make Saturdays a little more enjoyable for Gator fans.
Yeah, I agree with you. Your next 3 games after this bye week this Saturday is going to be UCF at home, Tennessee on the road, and then Kentucky at home. So realistically, you have 2 gettable games. You just hope you can score Tennessee to under 70 points. That's the goal. Considering what they've done.
2-1 is a huge win in that 3-game span, correct?
100%.
2-1 is a gigantic win considering where they currently are, because Tennessee's going to beat them by 1,000, and Tennessee's not. They're not going to slow it down, dude. They're going to run up the score, which I get. I would do the same thing if I were them. UCF is the most gettable, right? I think Kentucky's weird because they had 1 week where they looked horrendous and then another week where they took Georgia to the brink. I don't really know what Kentucky is. I need a bigger sample size and a couple more games to figure out who they are. I believe UCF, and this is kind of going to continue to happen throughout the season just because Billy's already on the hot seat, so that's just kind of how the schedule's working out. It was Miami, then it was A&M, and now it's UCF. This is the most important game of his career at Florida. Is it not? Or do you think the hay's in the barn? It doesn't matter.
The hay's in the barn. I agree with you. The Miami and A&M. I think it's kind of already set in stone what it's going to be. I don't think the UCF. The UCF just makes you feel good for a couple days, but the hay is already in the barn. What his decision moving forward and what his career is going to be, because if you had an ACC schedule maybe, but this is not an ACC schedule. This is not a Miami schedule where you look at the teams and you go, oh, there's nobody ranked for the rest of the year.
Mm-hmm. So you think if they beat UCF, it doesn't really matter because they're just going to go to Tennessee and get rolled the next week anyways, and we're having the same conversation. Yeah,
and look at these next 3. Just looking at these next 3 games, you have to win these 3 games all the same way. You have to hope you can hold the offense to about 40-something, and you have to hope to score more than 40-something. Like, the offense is going to have to outscore everybody. And, Nampier's the offensive guy, and he's got to be the one that puts together the game plan and do whatever. But, the over-under for the UCF game should be 85. The Tennessee game should be over 100. And then Kentucky's just going to run the ball at you for 300 yards. And you just got to hope to find a way to maneuver and score. So, that's kind of where my mindset is these next 3 games. Like, how are you going to outscore these next 3 teams? Because this defense isn't changing. And, another guy we haven't talked about yet is Marcus Burke. The guy that's been in the program for a couple of years, had a spark. I know it was Dan Boland's year when they went to South Carolina, had a big catch. I feel different because I've known him since he was a little kid. He played with my little brother and Pop Warner growing up. That's a dude that has talent. He's a big body. You can give him, deep balls and a jump ball too in the end zone like we've seen. It's another guy you need to get in the rotation to find a way to give him 3 or 4 catches a game. I know he had 4, but that's just going to be the reality for the next 3 games.
Yeah, to touch on the Marcus Burke thing real quick, like, as long as we know Khalil Jackson's out for the season, and then as long as Eugene Wilson is still out, we still don't really know what's going to be the deal with him. That door is open for Burke to get touches, Mizell to get touches. I don't know if Andy Jean still exists. I'm not sure what's going on there, but maybe, who knows. But really, Burke and Mizell, those 2 guys have shown a lot of promise. And Burke, this is not the first time he's shown promise. And Burke has had really nice catches in the past before. Been around for a long time. But, like, that was kind of back to my point about maybe they carry a little momentum from this and start playing better. The main reason that I think that's a possibility is the young guys. and Burke's not a young guy anymore, but you know what I mean? A guy that hasn't been a huge contributor in the past that could be. Let's put a little more Marcus Burke out there. That double move was nice, bro. Let's see a little more what he's got. Let's see a little more what Aiden Mizell's got. Let's see a little more what Baugh and Jackson and Webb, and I'm kind of repeating myself what I just said earlier, but if those guys can come out here and they're playing, that's one beauty about young guys when you're struggling is the young guys don't know the difference. They're going to go out there and play their ass off regardless. You might get some older guys that might make some business decisions here and there and kind of not be doing everything they should be. But the young guys were playing their ass off. And that was really, really encouraging to see. Despite how bad the season has been, despite everything that's going on, you had some guys that were really putting their nuts on the line in that game. And that was really, really nice to see.
All right, so now that we're at our first bye week, what does Florida go? What's Florida's record these next 3 games, and then we'll roll out of here.
2-1 is best case scenario. Realistically, I bet they go 1-2.
Beating who?
These next 3 games. What?
Beating who?
I lean UCF, but it could be Kentucky. But I lean UCF.
Yeah, I think
60-40. I think the UCF is the win.
Yeah, I'll agree with you there. There's no shot you're beating Tennessee unless Tennessee gives you 7 turnovers.
Mm-hmm.
And then Kentucky, for whatever reason, has had your numbers the last 4 years. For whatever reason, they're the more physical team.
The Gators figure out, and I don't even know if it would matter this year anyways because Florida's that bad, but the Gators figure out every year how to play their very worst game against Kentucky. It happens every year. I don't get it. They play their best game against Tennessee and their worst game against Kentucky every year. It's clockwork. So I don't understand. I mean, I don't know, man. Like with the way this defensive line is not stopping the run. You're right. Kentucky, they might have a drive that lasts the whole quarter. I mean, if they get a drive at like the 5, they might just 3 yards in a cloud of dust for 20 minutes on a drive.
Yes, and there's this comment right here is Gator Nation is back because we beat every low-level team. And I should have brought out my Billy Napier hoodie, Hope, the old Obama slogan, scared money don't make no money. But I do not have that with me. Graham, I got to roll out of here because I have things to do, a job. Enjoy the game. Have a safe flight back. What's up?
You have a job?
Yeah, job.
I thought you just did this podcast.
No, I got to push buttons for Jaguars today. No hack show. I got to do Jaguar pregame. And Jags need to get this damn win, dude. My sanity at my job, I cannot take another loss and hear just people complaining all day.
Well, I'm here on the front lines, brother. So like I will go out on the field and block for Trevor Lawrence myself if I have to.
Are you like an undercover employee, dude? You've been at all 3 games, and 2 of them are on the road.
No, it's the first time I've ever gone to the first 3 games of the season in my life, and I go to a lot of games, so that's saying a lot. I won't be because they play at Houston next week. I won't be there, but yeah, man, it's kind of worked out with the schedule that they have the home game, so I'm gonna go to the home game. But between Miami and the Bills, it just kind of worked out that those are the 2 road games I'm going to, and they just happen to be the first 2.
Damn.
But dude, listen. If the Jags are struggling, if momentum is slipping away from them, and the crowd's really into it in like the second quarter or something, and then you're watching the game, they come back from break, and you hear Joe Buck saying, "Yeah, we just had a streaker on the field. He was running around avoiding the cops for a while. He had a Jaguars hat on. That might be me." So. I'll do anything and everything in my power to come home with a W.
Well, whatever that is, good luck to you. If that is to happen, make sure you catch your flight. And
flight's in the afternoon. It's later in the afternoon, so that's good for me. Because me and alarm clocks don't mix, as you're well aware.
Yeah, I don't know how we do these 8 a.m. pods, man. I honestly don't know. I do one of these at like 7:59. I just go, I hope he's up.
It's a coin flip for me, brother.
All right,
That's
bro.
but that's indicative of Gator fans with Billy Napier, because we do the same thing every Saturday. Billy Napier and his team go on the field and say, "I hope he's away."
All right, let's end on that. I'll see you, Graham.
0.